Hello, everybody. It's me again, and welcome to another live discussion video of 2023. Okay, this is going to be another educational video, and it's actually going to be more with some positive outcome, and then there's some dark outcome. So here's going to be a good topic. So, yes, love and marriage and in relationships. So they always tell you that they will always love you now and forever for all of eternity until death does us part. And they'll always say that they'll always be there by your side, especially if it's physical or through social media. However, some relationships usually don't last long, and because of the false motivation they're getting on social media, and they're literally giving signs that they don't want to be in a relationship anymore. And yes, a lot of good relationships turn bad because it's either the individual that is cheating, it's either the man or the woman. It could be either way, but however, it's not how it's supposed to be. And some articles in social media show that there are a lot of men and women out there who are actually abusers and they're bullies because there are some times they had a history with their family members and they've gone through some abuse, and they're usually saying this stuff out to take out their frustration on the individual who is innocent and has not been going through bad times, and that kind of causes a cycle to repeat itself over and over again. So here's a video of about toxic relationships and how you can overcome them. Number one, walking away. See, when there's toxic relationships do involve individuals who have been at good at first, but then time prolapses, there's some activities that's been doing behind closed doors, especially when it comes to the man or the woman who's probably being faithful or unfaithful. Usually it is the man that actually acts like a jerk and educational, but actually non-educational, because either that person is being abusive when it comes to substances of drugs or alcohol, and he or she is actually putting that faithful person that they're with in shame, and usually it always ends in a bad way. But sometimes it's either the good part is to stay away from that individual, because either it could be boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband, wife who's actually been doing these substances. It's better for them to walk away from that person, especially if they're being abusive or being very, very, very unfaithful and deserted. Usually it happens to the it actually goes around with the spouse because of that individual who had a bad past and doesn't want to talk about it. So yeah, that's walking away from it. But sometimes it's better to stay away and break up with that person because of what that person has done to that good individual. And number two, lack of communication. Yes, some toxic relationships between two individuals do have lack of communication. Sometimes they would just like go out and have a good time and partying all day and all night. And then next thing you know, they come home with a sour look on their faces and saying horrible stuff and negative things. And it usually does impact on that wrong person, especially if that person is being so faithful to that individual. Usually it is the man who is the abuser and bully, or whoever is the main household person, and actually causes the person to go bad. And yes, it could also happen in family circles and also in friendship circles, not blood and non-blood. And it even brings up some toxic relationships between mother and father and son and daughter bonding because of the way they act and how their history is like together. So basically, that is a lack of communication. But some individuals usually sort it out just by going through therapy sessions and literally taking things to a different level by trying to heal, or they just stick to what they're doing and it costs them their freedom, and some of them could, lose everything they love. And number three, lack of trusts. Yes, toxic relationships do have some lacks of trust. Usually it does involve with cheating and also involving with divorces and breakups because of all the things that are petty, and usually the ones that are starting very abusive things and bullying in one another. It can happen in family and friends as well. Sometimes it's like an example, like if you're with a friend and he or she is saying that you should always go hang out with them and all that stuff, and you guys are having a good old time. But let's just say if you're going out to a club or something, or going out partying, and your friend is like, offering you an alcoholic beverage, what do you say? You say yes or no. Usually usually guys and girls usually say yes, because they want to enjoy the fun time of their life, because they don't want to disappoint their friend. Others would prefer to actually walk away from this, because apparently they do not want to be a drunk person or a bad person, an individual. So they're being so very toxic, and not and being, trying to, be like an extrovert with all that high stuff. And usually, sometimes having a bad substance of alcohol can literally cause one person to lose their memory of what they've done, and also create problems in the future of that individual. It could happen in relationships, and then could also happen in family and friendship circles, and that can lead to everlasting suffering and everlasting torment. And yes, I've even there are some examples in some family circles that can also happen to that individual as well. And number three, affairs. Yes, toxic relationships also could lead to affairs with another person. Like if the man is actually going out to work, right? And he is trying his very hard to, like, working hard as long as he could to support his wife. And basically he'll come home to his wife, and as soon as he finds out, he sees this individual that is not him, and she's having an affair with him. That means that she created adultery, and could actually be the main reason why this man works hard and long. He's trying his best. Or let it be the woman going out to work, and he stays at home, and he too would try his best, to be a stay-at-home husband. However, it could be either one individual that does the guilty party, or it's both an individual who has done the terrible deed. And yes, affairs can also cause toxic relationships to come at a bad pace, because it usually happens all around social media, and it also happens around and family circles, and also in friendship circles as well, depending on the individual who creates it. So with that truth being told, that kind of thing with sexual affairs also causes a lack of trust, and a lack of communication, and lacking of love and respect. So basically, that is called being a person who's committing affair behind that one's back. Number four, disloyalty. Yes, disloyalty can also happen in family and friendship circles due to that individual who has committed wrong deeds. Usually it always happens with the firstborn son, or it happens to the second born, or the middle-aged child, or the third, because usually it happens to the person that always creates it. And usually that person is like saying, like, he or she is the golden child, and but the middle age, or the firstborn is actually a disappointment, because it happens to a lot of people. It usually happens to the boys, and usually happens to the girls who actually go through that abuse, especially in family and friendship circles. And basically, that right there could actually mean that there's a toxicity in the air between relationships of families, or blood and non-blood, and then there's friends that also do that as well. And basically, it could happen to future relationships if they're not actually, like con- comforting comforting the good parts. So basically, that leads to a negative trait in toxic relationships. And number five, quarrels. Yes, toxic relationships can also begin in quarrels, because it usually happens with the person, like the parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, cousin, sibling, happens to any one of them. Even it happens to bullying around in the school. And then usually it does begin quarrels because of the things that happened in their lives. And usually it never ever ends well to that person. May it be male or female. But these individuals can usually start these quarrels only because it happens to the cheating, and it also happens to the one who starts it. And basically, it is not something that the individual would want to do. But when a quarrel actually starts, it usually happens when the man becomes the abusive and the bully, and usually creates this problem in the long run. And that kind of person can go into getting serious trouble with that person's with his spouse's family, and he pays the heavy price for it. Or may it be the wife or the ex-girlfriend or the fiance that started this, and she tried she is trying to like guilt trip that person, and literally that leads to an unorthodox of suffering and toxicity in that relationship. And that's why toxic relationships in that kind of category right there could lead to bad associations and also cause that person to suffer. So, do any of you relate to any one of these things in this video? Let me know in the comments description below. Like I say, this video is only meant for educational purposes and not to promote toxicity or any sorts of bullying and abusive speeches. And it only provides only the things that you must do to avoid any of these situations in the video. So I do thank you for your time and thank you for watching my video. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel if you want to see some more educational videos like this. Okay? Tune in next time. Take care.